The shortcut that no one uses twice. The Missing Girl of Ridgeway Cemetery. Subscribe now if you're brave enough to walk this path with me. Just remember, no one ever takes the Ridgeway shortcut twice. It was supposed to be a simple walk home. That's what Lena Marlowe, a 20-year-old college student, told her roommates before she disappeared. The Ridgeway Cemetery Trail was the fastest route back to campus, a narrow gravel path cutting straight through the old graveyard. Locals had warned about it for years, but Lena wasn't the superstitious type. She didn't believe in ghost stories, or in the idea that some roads remembered every step ever taken on them. It was late October, the kind of night when fog rolls in off the river and turns every sound into a whisper. The temperature dropped without warning, and by 11:42 p.m., Lena's phone recorded her last known location, halfway down the Ridgeway path. The last photo she sent was a joke to her friend, a blurry shot of the foggy gates with the message, "Shortcut Vibes." By morning, her phone was found in the cemetery grass, screen cracked, still recording video. The footage lasted 7 minutes. It began with her laughing. The light from her phone flashlight flickered as she joked about the haunted shortcut. Then her tone changed. A soft sound in the background like footsteps matching her pace. She turned the camera behind her. Nothing. Just the path half lit by fog. But the footsteps continued, steady and deliberate, until she whispered, "Hello? Who's there?" The last 30 seconds were pure static and breathing. Then silence. When police arrived, they found the trail undisturbed. No signs of a struggle, no drag marks, no footprints beyond her own. The only oddity, her shoes. Both were neatly placed side by side at the end of the path, right before the iron gate that led out of the cemetery. Detective Aaron Cole, the man assigned to the case, had seen strange disappearances before, but nothing like this. When he read the old files, a chill crept up his spine. There had been cases just like Lena's, one every decade. Always on an October night, always on the same path. And each victim had been wearing something red. He went to see the groundskeeper, an old man named Silas Brenner, who'd tended Ridgeway for nearly 50 years. Silas lived in a small shack near the southern edge of the cemetery, surrounded by rusting tools and yellowed newspapers. His voice was low, slow, heavy with years of seeing things no one should. "You think she's the first?" Silas said, not looking up from the table. "You don't get it. The path doesn't take people. It keeps them." Cole frowned. "What does that mean?" Silas finally met his eyes. "You ever walked that trail at night? It's shorter than it should be. That's what everyone says. Feels like it bends time. You walk 10 minutes and end up 20 years behind." Cole dismissed it as superstition, but that night he returned alone, flashlight in hand, breath visible in the damp air. The Ridgeway path was silent except for the soft crunch of gravel beneath his boots. Fog hung thick and heavy, swallowing the headstones to either side. He checked his watch. 11:41 p.m. The same time Lena's phone had last pinged. He stopped. There. A sound. Laughter. Faint and distant, echoing through the mist. It was a woman's voice. Then a flash of red caught his eye. Fabric caught on a tree branch. A scarf, still damp from dew. He reached for it, and the air around him shifted, colder, heavier. From the corner of his eye, he saw someone standing between the graves. A woman in red, head bowed, her outline blurring in the fog. He called out, "Lena?" She didn't move. He stepped closer, flashlight trembling. The figure slowly lifted her head and smiled. Then the beam flickered, and she was gone. Cole stumbled back, pulse hammering, his breath clouding in the air. That's when he noticed the graves around him. Every headstone he passed bore the same day every T of death. October 31st. Each one spaced 10 years apart. Each name female. And one of them stopped him cold. Lena Marlowe. 2003-2023. He dropped the flashlight. The ground shifted beneath his boots. He knelt, brushing at the dirt. It was freshly turned. The soil still soft. He backed away, phone shaking in his hand as he aimed its light down. Then he saw it. A second gravestone right beside hers. The name still being etched, the letters glowing faintly as they carved themselves into the stone. Detective Aaron Cole, 1985-2023. And just beneath it, a single line burned itself into the granite. Some shortcuts never end. The fog didn't lift that night. It stayed pressed against the earth like a blanket trying to smother the town. Detective Aaron Cole didn't tell anyone what he saw. The glowing gravestone with his own name, the voice that sounded like the missing girl. He told himself it was exhaustion, fog tricks, grief, anything but what it felt like. A warning. By morning, he was back at the police station, surrounded by fluorescent lights and lukewarm coffee. The evidence bag containing Lena's phone sat on his desk. For hours, the tech department had tried to decrypt its corrupted files. Finally, the footage loaded. The first minute was normal. Lena, laughing, walking down the gravel trail, fog swallowing her flashlight beam. Then came the sound. Soft crunches, perfectly synchronized with her own steps, like someone copying her movements just out of frame. She said, "Hello?" Then faintly something whispered back. Not an echo. A voice. The audio spectrogram revealed the reply. "You've been here before." Cole paused the video, feeling his stomach twist. He replayed it, slowing it down, and there, just before the static, Lena's flashlight panned across something. A face in the fog. Pale. Unmoving. Watching. He shut the laptop, heart pounding. That afternoon, he drove back to the cemetery with a camera and a small drone. The locals watched him go, shaking their heads. "Don't go down Ridgeway after dark," an old woman warned. "It doesn't bring people back. It repeats them." The path was even quieter now, the air heavy and damp. The fog had a faint metallic scent, like old water and rusted nails. He started the drone, watching the feed on his phone as it rose over the graves. From above, Ridgeway looked ordinary, until he noticed it. The path didn't run straight. It curved, then doubled back, forming a perfect circle that ended where it began. Only, it didn't look that way on foot. From the ground it always appeared to lead somewhere else, out, forward, away. He walked it slowly, timing his steps. Gravel underfoot, wind in the trees, his breath steady. He passed the same angel statue 3 times without realizing it. Each time, the carving on its base changed. First, blessed rest. Second, for those who return. Third, you are already here. He stopped walking. The air had turned colder, thick enough to feel pressing against his skin. He raised his flashlight and saw movement between the graves. Faint, human-shaped figures drifting like shadows caught in the fog. Their faces were pale, blurred, as though half-finished. Every one of them wore something red. "Lena," he whispered. One figure stepped forward. Her hair hung wet across her shoulders, her eyes blank. When she spoke, her voice came from everywhere, behind him, beside him, inside his head. "You walked the path. It remembers." He stumbled backward. The gravel beneath him felt soft, like stepping into sand. He looked down. Footprints, dozens of them, his own boots, the same tread pattern, looping in circles around him. The flashlight flickered again. When it steadied, he wasn't alone. Silas Brenner, the old grounds Ovad keeper, stood at the other end of the path, holding a lantern that barely cut through the mist. "I told you not to come back," Silas said. "Every 10 years, it calls for one who doesn't send it to you at the year 19 to believe. And Eve years, rye time. The trail keeps what it needs to stay open." Cole's voice shook. "What does it need?" Silas looked past him, his expression hollow. A replacement. Before Cole could respond, the sound came. Footsteps, dozens of them, marching in sync. From the fog emerged figures wearing red scarves, red jackets, red dresses. Their faces were hidden, but their eyes gleamed faintly like mirrors. Lena stood among them, head tilted, smiling faintly. "You see?" Silas whispered. "They're not gone. They're walking the path still, forever between where they started and where they never arrived." Cole raised his phone to record, but the screen showed something impossible. Not fog, not graves, but a reflection of himself, walking ahead, his expression blank, his movements out of sync. "Stop it," he muttered, backing away. "This isn't real." Silas shook his head. "The path loops. It doesn't let go. Once you see your grave, it's already written." Cole turned to run, but every direction led him back to the same spot. The same graves. The same angel statue. And when he looked down, the engraving had changed again. This time, it said, 10 years later, you'll walk with them. Lightning flashed across the sky. For a moment he saw all the figures, a dozen Lenas, a dozen others, drifting in the mist. Then darkness. The drone feed still running on his phone captured the final image. Cole, standing alone in the center of the cemetery, staring at his own reflection emerging from the fog, one smiling, one terrified. Then the video cut out. The next morning, the entire town of Clayburn was on edge. People spoke in hushed voices, glancing nervously at the cemetery gates. Detective Cole had not returned. The police found his car parked just outside Ridgeway Cemetery, the engine still warm, the doors wide open. His phone was found on the GR. Found herself walking along the edge of the Ridgeway Cemetery. She had heard the stories, but never truly believed them. The cemetery wasn't far from her apartment, and she often passed by it when walking home from her late shifts. The sun had set, and the mist rolled in thickly, like a living thing. As she passed the gates, she stopped. The path was different, somehow darker, more inviting. Just a quick walk through, she thought, thinking it was nothing more than an urban legend. The cemetery had always been quiet, still. But tonight, the fog felt heavier, pressing against her skin as she moved deeper. The air was thick with the smell of wet earth. She could barely see her hand in front of her face. The mist was so thick. And then she heard it. Footsteps. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, the crunching of the gravel under her own feet, but the sound was too rhythmic, too deliberate. She stopped and turned around. There, barely visible through the fog, stood a figure in red. She couldn't make out its features, but she could feel its presence, heavy, suffocating. And then the voice, barely a whisper. "You've taken the shortcut, too. Welcome back." Megan's heart pounded in her chest, but she couldn't move. The figure stepped closer, its face still hidden beneath a hood, but the faintest outline of its eyes glowed in the dim fog. "It's time to walk the path, Megan," it said again, its voice echoing in her ears, surrounding her, vibrating through the ground beneath her feet. The fog thickened, the air grew colder, and she felt the ground shift beneath her, pulling her toward the open grave that now appeared at the end of the path. "No," she whispered, shaking her head, trying to pull herself away. But the fog moved with her, surrounding her like hands, pushing her forward. As she stumbled toward the grave, she caught a glimpse of the gravestone. Her own. Name: Megan Harris, 1995 to 2025. She stopped, her blood running cold. The date wasn't right. She wasn't supposed to die yet. She turned and ran, but the ground seemed to stretch endlessly, the fog closing in on her. Then the bell tolled. One last time. The bell that had never stopped. And when she looked back, there was no longer a path, only the cemetery, staring back at her like it had always been there, waiting. If you thought this was terrifying, the next story will haunt you even more. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.